Okay, go ahead, Terry.
You need to move that the items on the meeting agenda constitute essential business of this body and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Yeah. So moved. Second, Tom.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Reed?
Approve.
Mr. Frazier?
Approve.
Mr. Crumbo?
Approved.
Mr. Druffel?
Approved.
Okay, motion passes. We'll start with approval of minutes of April 22nd. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Reed?
Approve.
Mr. Frazier?
Approve.
Mr. Crumbo?
Approved.
Mr. Druffel?
Approved.
Okay. New business. Lauren.
The first item that we have up for new business is an audit request from former council member Erica Gilmore. Ms. Gilmore will be the Metro trustee following the election in August, where she is running unopposed after winning the primary in March. Ms. Gilmore has requested that we do an audit of the entire trustee's office and focus down or scope down after looking at everything to determine key functions and procedures to ensure that it's operating efficiently and effectively, and to let her know any issues that we see as she transitions into management. She's also asked that we look at the recommendations that were made in 2015 to ensure that they were appropriately implemented and are working effectively. This item, if approved, to be added to the audit plan would fall under our line item that was added this year of unknown requests. And we added this line this year to have a buffer, and knowing that we usually get requests from time to time, that this way we have the hours already built into our audit plan and don't have to worry about moving around other audit areas in order to address it. We are also joined on the line with Ms. Gilmore, who if she wants to add anything else, she may.
Okay.
No, thank you, Lauren. It's a delight to be here. And as you stated, I just would like to make sure that there's anything that I can improve upon before entering the office. Would like for that to be noted, and just an internal audit. And you ran it verbatim from what I request. So thank you so much. So I'd like the committee to consider that request. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Only if I guess I'd be glad to support it. I didn't know. What's the process of making that move? This is Tom.
So since this is an additional audit, y'all always approve our audit plan. So we must request for y'all to add this to our audit plan. So a motion must be made for this to be added to our audit plan for this year.
Just a quick question is, you said this would not change our current plan. We just assume we have some space to do this additional one then.
That's correct. We have a line item at the bottom of our audit plan that we put in there this year for unknown requests. So the hours are already built into the budget, so we know we have capacity for them, but we just weren't sure what requests we would get. And this would fill in that line item. Going forward, if there were more requests made, we will likely have to possibly remove other audits if we don't think that our team has enough time to address them. But for now, it's just the addition of this to the audit plan.
This is a request that has been made routinely throughout the years of when there's a change of leadership, the new leadership asks internal audit to kind of come in and, just like it was previously stated, check things out, have do an audit report from, this point going forward. So it's happened many times in the past.
Sounds good. I think it's a good idea. I'd move make a motion to approve this audit for the trustee.
Change the audit plan.
Trustee? Yes,
Change the audit plan to add this audit, yes.
that's correct.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
Well, I'll just say I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate Erica stepping up and asking for it because it's a great way to begin a new office.
Yeah, I agree. I think to provide transparency and having a serious look at it, I think that's a great idea. So, glad she's
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Reed,
Approve.
Mr. Frazier,
Approve.
Mr. Crumbo,
Approve.
Mr. Druffel.
approve.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
We have Crossland here presenting the Metropolitan Nashville Government Fiscal Year 2019 Letter of Recommendations to Management.
Yes, this is John Crossland. Can everybody hear me? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to, so the next two items are the letter recommendation and then our 2020 audit plan. So I'll finish one year and start another. Start with the letter recommendation to management from the June 30, 2019 audit. Does everyone have the materials in front of you, possibly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
I'll start on page 2. We have 6 comments. We did not identify any deficiencies this year in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses, nor did we have any significant deficiencies, which is important for at least one of 2 reasons. One, and I'll describe later on when I go over the plan for the 2020 audit, but you're precluded from being a low-risk auditee if you have material weaknesses in internal controls. So we did not find any this year. 2, obviously, if we had material weaknesses, that would be a bigger deal to overcome than if we did not. And so, having said that, we do have 6 management letter comments. I will go through those quickly, just go over the general areas. I see the agenda, and there's a lot on it. But feel freely to ask and dig as deep as you want to. I can slow down. But the first one is timely preparation of bank reconciliations. We do a lot of bank rec testing throughout the audit, and we found a couple areas, one with the operating concentration cash account and one with the water and sewer customer refund accounts that, per the stated internal controls, they have 45 days to reconcile the bank accounts. And a couple of those had gone up in the 74 days and 78 days. So management agreed with us on these. Part of the reason is implementing the new R12 system, and I believe that this will be remedied if it already hasn't when we look at the June 30, 2020 audit. The second one, moving on to page 3, is looking at segregation.
Hey,
Sure.
John, can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
This is Frazier. Are the reconciliations, are they being done manually? I mean, I noticed we have a new system coming online. So are they being done manually, or are they computerized reconciliations?
Well, they will be. With this R12, there's more automation to it now. So, in one of their responses, matter of fact, they say, it went live in September of 2019, as everybody knows. And the new system contains functionality that can provide more automation, which should take care of the comment altogether.
Okay, and just one final question about that is, you said that the reason that some of them were 75 days late was due to implementation of the new system and getting used to it. I assume it's not because they didn't have the personnel in place who were so new they didn't quite know how to do a reconciliation. I assume that wasn't the reason.
Well, and I say as a general comment that R12 was part of the process just because it slowed up a lot of things, and it might not have been directly, but indirectly it put stops. It wasn't because employees did not know how to properly do bank reconciliations. Some of it was just due to conflicting projects like the operating and concentration account, which is done in the finance office. You know, they said they repeatedly fall behind at certain times of the year due to conflicting projects. So, you know, they've reassigned staff to provide a dedicated resource for that now. Part of that was implementing R12. So, you know, it comes down to what are those conflicting projects that happen during the year. And I just mentioned R12 was one of those. There may have been others that I'm not even aware of, but, you know, that I can't remember from the. But
no, that's fine. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it seems like they've got a process down, and the new R12 system will help with automation to get that done quicker.
Good. Thank you.
Sure. The next one is segregation of duties of cash receipts. Within the MNPS, the district office, there was virtually one employee doing everything. And so, you know, that can lead to errors. And so we just recommended having segregation between multiple employees, and if that's not possible, have compensating control. But it seems like that MNPS has already taken action. They put a second lockbox in. They've done some things to adjudicate this problem already. So we feel good that it's taken care of. And, of course, having said that, with all these comments during the 2020 audit, which we've already gotten some planning going now, we'll look into all these to ensure that, you know, the management's responses actually came through. The third one is timely recording of cash receipts. We had identified, we test a lot of cash receipts amongst many, many different areas of metropolitan government. A couple areas with the beer board and the health department, we found that some of the cash receipts were just being recorded a little later than they should be. And management from both of those areas agreed with us. I think the beer board, they said they had limited staff resources who were performing multiple functions that they seem to have found. They did some staff reassignments and feels good that they'll be able to do that timely. And the health department, they said that they're going through the bank accounts daily now. So I think those items should be timely going forward. Again, this was not something where the cash receipts were being recorded incorrectly. They just weren't being recorded timely. Moving on to the top of the next page, the fourth comment was document retention. And there were a few areas where this was an issue. The general government within human resources and MNPS, we tested 30 pensioner files, and only one of them we found an issue where there was lack of documentation we needed. And then at the property assessor's office, we tested 60, and only one of them. The exemption application for just one person was not in there. And they made note, the property assessor wanted to make note in their response that this was something done before the new administration took office. So this was prior to 2016, so the exemption was made back then, and we were looking for the original paperwork to prove the exemption, and it wasn't there. But they have electronic copies maintained for all their applications now, and anything that they haven't previously been able to find on file, they've gone through exhaustive measures to try to find those.
Can I ask a process, maybe just another awareness? Is there any system set up within Metro that are self-audits? And I only relate to our corporate world. like in HR and accounting, we have self-audits once, twice a year that help us identify these kind of issues. Doesn't sound like this is significant. I was just curious if there was such a thing that is within the system.
I don't know of any in these areas, but that's a good question that we can look into. I don't know of any.
It would just, I don't know how far you take it. I just know, like, we have an accounting audit, an HR audit, and payroll audit, and it forces us once a year to go through, and before we have an external audit, we find, it helps us find everything before this happens. Just a thought and idea. I was just curious.
Yeah. Hey, so Tom, this is Kevin. The good news is R12 has a great number of features beyond our previous system, and I think you're aware it's the first time there's been an upgrade of the system in a lot of years here, so it will help that. I think what we'll see in the meantime is, where we've got more or less manual processes that have been out in these many agencies and authorities and things that are our metro government, that we'll start to see more holes there and more opportunities to, fix small systems and cash boxes and things that have been in place for a long time that just don't need to be there anymore. So I'm hopeful we'll have a nice progression here towards things that we can see more ourselves.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, the next comment was employment eligibility verification. So when we looked at MNPS employees, we found one of the files did not have an I-9 form, which is obviously to verify the identity and legal authorization for work. And they agreed with that and feel like they put in a process for ensuring to have those in the future. Again, a very small issue. The last one is the sixth one is deficit in the cash balance. I think we've talked about this in the past in one of the audit committee meetings in the past, but tax anticipation notes. So if one fund is borrowing cash from another fund, you have to shore that up by the end of the year and not have any negative cash balances. And that was an issue inadvertently at the end of this year. I know Phil has talked with the state of Tennessee. They're the ones that really have a problem with that. They're the ones that implement that rule that you don't need to have a negative cash balance, even if it's within inter funds. And the effort that Phil has gone through and talked with the state, I feel very comfortable that matter is behind us.
Yeah, guys, this is Kevin again. That is really well treaded. He's right. There was an error, I think, at the end of last year. I wasn't here at the time, but I've seen the documentation of it. We've worked through so many tax anticipation notes issues, including something new this year called a FEMA 10. I'm confident we're well past anything related to that.
So all in all, I feel like it's a pretty good year way to conclude the 2019 year with no management, no material weaknesses. Any questions?
No, it looks good. Thank you.
Okay, we'll need a motion to accept this letter recommendation to management. Would someone like to make that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second is Tom.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Reed,
I accept.
Mr. Frazier,
Approve.
Mr. Crumbo,
Approved.
Mr. Druffel.
Approved.
Okay, thank you. John, you have the next one?
I do.
Okay.
You get to do all the talking today. So, and by the way, I want to introduce, I think Katie is on the phone now, but she is the overall new audit manager for this audit. We're very excited. She's been on the engagement for a long time, and she got promoted, and she has taken the helm of the audit. So we're we're excited for that. So moving into the plan for 2020, if you have the presentation, page 2 has our engagement team members. And so you see Katie Ferris as overall manager. As y'all are well aware, we rotated the first partner on the overall Metro Nashville to myself. This will be my third year. Before it was David Hunt. David is still principal in charge of the hospital. And you can see just various managers and partners we've moved around. Jennifer Monternac will be the principal in charge of uniform guidance again this year. David will be the first principal on the water and sewer as well. And then we will continue to work with Sarah Hardy with our DBE requirement as well as Kim Thomason. The next page, page 3, is our responsibilities. Just briefly, our one is to fairly present in all material respects the in conformity with GAAP, the financial statements. That's what our job is, to ensure that is done. Also, under governmental auditing standards, that comes into play with our Yellow Book audit and with our Uniform Guidance audit, otherwise known as the single audit. Our job is to maintain independence and an attitude of professional skepticism, and then finally report to the audit committee. On the other side of the page, we have a list of what management's responsibilities are. Obviously, they are responsible for fairly presenting the financial statements. We are just adding our opinion to that, and as well as adopting proper accounting policies, establishing internal controls, which we will test, preventing and detecting fraud, which we will do certain procedures to test, and disclosing to the audit committee and Crossland any significant deficiencies in internal controls. The next page, we are required to report that we are independent with respect to Metro Nashville in fact and appearance under the AICPA Code 101. Next page, fraud risk. SAS 99 came out and they said auditors no longer can just ignore fraud. You have to do certain procedures to test it, test for it. Those are gather information. We have a big team brainstorming meeting trying to look for different areas that fraud could possibly be detected. And then we have to do certain procedures under those areas to see if we can find fraud. Anytime there's tightening of budgets or anytime there's unexpected cash coming in or transactions like triple P money, those things become high risk that we'll take a look at. Back in 2010 when all the federal money came in for the flood, that would have been a high risk fraud area back then. So anything unusual like that, and anything we identify as high risk in just the general audit procedures that may or may not happen year in and year out. We do test for management override, look at significant estimates to see if they're have any kind of inappropriate bias from one year to the next. We correlate information gathered and tested in all areas and consider discrepancies. This is a large audit, so we have multiple teams out doing different things at different locations, and so obviously communication amongst ourselves and correlating all that information is very important. And then finally, if we do see anything, we are obligated and we will communicate that to the audit committee. The next page is audit methodology and approach. We are under the audit planning and risk assessment part of the audit right now. We are understanding how the Metro flows and any changes from the prior year. We are understanding its internal control structures. And after doing that, that's where we can identify where those high-risk areas are. After we know where those high-risk areas are, we can identify where we can test controls and rely on testing of those controls. And for anything else, then we will do substantive testing. If you look on the next page, you can see we've listed some of the areas we expect control, evaluation, and testing where we can rely on controls on the left side of the page there, and on the right side where we will mainly focus on substantive testing. Giving you all a minute to look through those areas, see if you have any questions. Okay, the next page is the single audit. Like I mentioned before, not having any material weaknesses, not having anything like the hospital having a going concern issues opinion. This is the first year in our 10 years that Nashville's been able to be listed as a low-risk auditee, which is fantastic, which means that we have to cover 20% of the total federal expenditures, where in the past we have had to cover 40% of the total federal expenditures. We will assess what those high-risk Type A programs are. If you have not, if a Type A program has not been audited in one of the last 3 years, then it is automatically high risk and has to be audited. There's a possibility that there are some Type B programs that will be high risk. We'll have to assess those to see if we can get them to low risk. The expected major programs right now are the Child Nutrition Cluster and the IDEA Cluster out of the Department of Education. But as we get a finalized copy of the CFA after the end of the year and start digging deeper, that may come and go. We've tested as many as close to 15 major programs. I think 2 would be the lowest. I think last year we tested 5 or 6 major programs. On to the next page, significant activities and issues. We just listed some of the just description of some of the major issues and activities that we'll look at. Page 10 is prior year issues and recommendations. No material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no compliance findings, which is fantastic. For you new members, it has not always been this way. So this is it's very exciting, even for the auditors.
In terms of some relevance, what have you seen in prior years in terms of numbers or level?
There's just always been some type of area that in the early, maybe 10 to 5 years ago, we seemed to always have some type of material weakness issue within one of the constitutional offices that was difficult to overcome, because when we issue an opinion in Nashville, unlike a lot of governments, we're issuing an opinion on every fund, not just the city or the county altogether. It's one big materiality. So when we look at each of those little funds, the Register of Deeds office, for instance, is a separate fund that has its separate materiality limit. We might have a $40,000 materiality limit on that office, even though we're auditing a huge metropolitan government. And so if there's something in that $40,000, range that's materially incorrect and we have a material weakness, that kind of spoils the low risk or high risk for the entire government. And so to avoid material weaknesses across all funds of the metro government, it's very difficult. And so but those are most of the material weaknesses in the early years. The last 4 or 5 years, I don't think we've had a material weakness. We've had some significant deficiencies, but not material weaknesses.
Well, the hospital, John.
Right.
Hospital term, yeah.
Yeah, the hospital was the one that the last. I guess did we have material weakness? I think we did have material weakness a few years ago, and then we had a going concern issue with the hospital 2 years ago. We did not last year.
Okay, that's correct.
Mhm. Page 11 are the just new GASB statements. We always like to let the audit committees know what's coming out in case anybody asks. None of the two that are going to be valid for 6/30/2020 are 88 and GASB 83. Last year, we looked extensively in the 83 certain asset retirement obligations and deemed that there were none that needed to be recorded. And so really, I don't think, looking through all of these, I don't think any of them really have a significant impact on metropolitan government. There will be some disclosures surrounding debt this year probably that'll change a little bit with 88. But other than that, no debits and credits that I perceive right now. Next page, we have our timeline. As you can see, most of those have an abrupt stop somewhere in October. The MNPS and the hospital, so we can have those in early October. So we have to opine on the entire thing by 10/31. So the central government is by the end of the month. And then the uniform guidance and state compliance timing goes into December. Hopefully not the end of December this year. Hopefully earlier in the first couple weeks of December, we'll have that wrapped up, at least by the third week in December. And then the next page is just our delivery dates, just in written out form. Are there any questions with our 2020 plan? Be happy to answer anything. We have Jennifer on the phone as well. If there's any single audit questions.
No, not for me.
Good. Thank you, John.
I'm fine.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
And this requires no vote. This is the auditor's presentation. And no further questions. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lauren?
Okay, moving on. Our next item is the discussion on the audit of the Metropolitan Nashville Public Library building security. We finished this audit back in May, and we did this one because there are so many different individuals and patrons, employees, staff, as well as valuable assets within the Nashville Public Library that we wanted to make sure had safety and security and good controls around them. Overall, our objectives for it were to ensure that controls were in place to ensure the safety and security of patrons and employees, that there were safeguards and controls to ensure that assets in the Metro archives as well as special collections were protected, and lastly, to make sure that there were procedural safeguards in the event of any type of man-made or natural disaster. What we found was that the Nashville Public Library has an extensive list of policies and procedures in place to address security of both individuals as well as assets. They have 21 different branches, including their main public library downtown, that they very well disseminate all the procedures to all the different branches and have them implemented. They find a good balance between accessibility, since these are all public buildings, but also offering everybody the safety and security when they are there. We did make 4 recommendations. These recommendations were all accepted, and they involved the first one being that many of the Metro archives as well as special collection items had value. These could have been monetary value or historical value, and they were not listed on the insurance listing. No estimate in their value had been made, and this just opens up the risk of loss in the event that they are stolen or just unfortunately hurt in any type of event. So we recommended that the library come up with criteria on how to value these items, as well as get these items on the insurance list. Additionally, these items, there's a lot of them, and so the storage that they have, though, is limited, but there was not really a procedure in place to identify how these items were stored and which ones would be in the more secure areas that were available, and how someone would determine where they would go. So we recommended that procedures be put into place to make this determination so that items were properly stored, whether it be in the safe or the storage area. Our next recommendation was around badge access. We did determine that 69 former employees, volunteers, and foundation staff still had active badges. There was a disconnect between when someone was terminated and when the security would be notified about the badge needing to be turned off. So we made the recommendation that procedures be put in place so that when one of these individuals is terminated, a process happens where their badge does get terminated as well. Our last one was a low-risk finding where the security within the main library often does rounds where they walk around and do certain security checks. There's a checklist that goes along with this, and then while we were looking to see that this was being done, we noted that some of the days we selected, the checklist was not available. We didn't think that it was because this wasn't being done, but more because the documentation wasn't being retained. So we made the recommendation that a documentation retention policy be set and then followed. As I said, these were all accepted. On the phone also, we have Susan Dry, who is the Associate Director for the Nashville Public Library, as well as Nan Nguyen, who was our auditor in charge for this audit, if there are any questions.
All right, this is Frazier. I have a comment and a question. First of all, I just want to say the library, they give a great service in Overdrive, allowing people to check out, audio books and all their books online. That is a wonderful service. I praise the library for that. But a question I have is on page 3, Exhibit B, and it's probably a very minor part of the operations, but it was an interesting exhibit. But we show about over $400,000 worth of missing cases, missing movies, or whatever. And I guess my first question is, if we lost over $400,000, how much was reimbursed by the patron who checked it out? How much of that $400,000 did we get back?
I don't know that I can address that. Susan, do you know?
It depends on whether it was lost or it was stolen. If it's a lost item, patrons are billed for that after a certain amount of time, and most of the time, they come in and they pay for it. If items were stolen, then obviously we're not reimbursed.
So the money collected on a missing item, is that put in a separate account so that it can be disclosed as to how much we got back? And I know it's probably not material, and this is probably a very minor question, but just curious, about the reimbursement.
Any of our fees that we collect go into the general fund. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I don't want to get into detailed accounting, but that's fine. I just think there needs to be good accounting for when you recover money from people. That certainly needs to be accounted for very appropriately, or else that can go missing as well.
Well, we do. We've got an automated library system, so we know who is checking out, we know what they've checked out, we know if it's missing, we know if it's billed, and we know if it's collected. And that's how we do our daily, what we are depositing daily are those fees.
And that,
so yes, we do know what's been collected.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. And that exhibit is for the main library as well as all the branches, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is Tom. Just a question on page 2. I found it interesting, the top 10 patron violations. That's a fairly long period of time. Is that the total occurrences for that period of time?
Yes. For that, I guess that's about a year and a half. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot smaller than I thought. I'm glad not to see more, but I just was surprised. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, comments?
No, thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Next item.
The next item was the tentative discussion of the Finance Department Treasury collections. Unfortunately, this audit did not go out before the meeting, so that will not be discussed.
Okay.
Okay, the next one, yes.
Are we to the annual performance review?
Yes.
That's the next thing?
That's correct.
Terry, I guess we kind of mentioned this last time. We have a new, I guess the current Metro auditor has only been in place now for almost 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I would think that this requirement, is this really a requirement that we need to do based upon the entire year, or something we can kind of wait till we get a year under our belt with Lauren?
So the charter doesn't specify at what point in time in the year you all must perform this function. It just says that it has to be done at least annually. So given that it doesn't really make much sense to review the performance of someone who is no longer the Metropolitan Auditor, I think we're going to have a obligation to review the performance of the new Metropolitan Auditor a year from her start date or before, which was May 4th, if I recall correctly.
Yes. Okay. Well, why don't we just do, we'll do that. And Terry, if you just kind of keep this item on your list, just kind of let us know a couple of months in advance or the proper time in advance, and we can get out, the evaluation forms to the members. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Okay. Lauren?
Okay. Our next item is the ongoing projects and the status of those. Currently, we have issued 3 audit reports for this audit plan year. Additionally, we've done 2 investigation reports and 4 hotel tax audits. Currently, we have 3 audits that are in the draft reporting phase, 3 audits that are in field work, and 2 that are in planning. Additionally, we have 1 investigation that it's a small investigation that just started this week that will also eventually end in another report. So that is kind of the status of our projects right now. We still are on track to meet the audit plan that we have in place.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
No
questions.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is the recommendation implementation status. I am very happy to report that based on the letter that was sent out in March to all departments with any open audit recommendations, we got a 100% response rate. Every department responded, either clearing their recommendations or providing us with updates on whether there needed to be a revised date or with how they were working towards implementation dates if the date had not gotten here yet. We were able to go from 157 audit recommendations that were open in March down to 66 audit recommendations as of June 19th. is you'll see some of the recommendations are budget dependent, and with Metro's budgets the past few years for departments, some of them have not been budget funded yet. We've reviewed these and seen that they do not seem to be significant enough that that we're extremely worried about them or anything. And then also, many of these departments responded with their plans of action to continue to work towards getting this implemented. Any department that submitted a recommendation that was cleared, they also submitted supporting documentation, whether it was in the form of a description of the process that was in place now or a policy or procedure if that's what we asked for them to do. We reviewed these and made sure that they met the criteria for which we made the recommendation, and then we would clear them then. This was not an audit of all of the recommendations when they were sent in. That, as we discussed in prior meetings, is something that we will be going through past audits to determine where there were high-risk recommendations and doing follow-up audits of those recommendations on an ongoing basis. Additionally, going forward, instead of doing every 6 months following up on recommendations, we will be watching the implementation dates. If an implementation date such as June 30th on some of these comes up, we will follow up to see if it was implemented. If it wasn't, we will get an explanation on why there needs to be a change in date, and if it was, we'll get supporting documentation on how it was implemented. This way, going forward at our audit committee meetings, we can provide you with a list of all the open recommendations each time, but we can also provide you with a list of any that came up during the period between the meetings. And then you can see any changes that happened to those specific recommendations, whether they were cleared or whether they were revised, and whether or not we need to call in the process owner for a further discussion on why the recommendation has not been implemented.
Okay, good.
I think there was a point of process that where we said that, I forgot who mentioned it too, that we would, and anybody that had not completed theirs would come in personally to explain why they did not have it followed through, which put a little added pressure on the owner of the process.
As far as why they have, well, I was going to say we can do it that way. If that's how y'all would like for it to be going forward, we can call in process owners with ones that are past due.
Well, I sort of think, well, go ahead, Kevin. Tom, whoever was going to say something.
No, I'm sorry. I defer, but I think the idea that once that word gets out that my follow-up is critical, and if I didn't, I have to come in and explain it, it creates a lot of tension, I think, and creates a greater sense of accountability. So I sort of like that idea.
As far as calling them in if they don't respond at all or if they have not implemented it.
If they didn't follow up with the action plans, I think we said it was a red, if it was a red, or I forgot the exact criteria, but I think there was a point of discussion, a point where we all agreed that if it was let's say a red, I think, and they had not followed up, we would ask them to come in, again, only if that was a major issue.
Okay.
But I don't know the exact criteria we used, but I do remember that discussion.
Lauren, this process you're implementing, it's a relatively new process, correct? As far as the follow-up. We've been tracking it, but the follow-up probably hasn't been as extensive as what you're laying out. So I think we need to keep this on the agenda, obviously each meeting, and per your judgment, when you're getting, a good feedback or you're in agreement with the implementation is one thing. When you're not in agreement, then I think we can address how we handle that, bringing people in and things of that nature. But since it's relatively new, let's just keep it on the agenda, and that would be one of our options. And as either a committee member request or as you request. If everybody thinks that's reasonable. And also, once you get these responses and they're being cleared up, which is good, I guess more than just the individual department would be notified that, this was an improvement and they've accepted the recommendation or something within, kind of like within the organization itself. Like Kevin would need to, I would think would need to know about it, or the relative or the appropriate council committee when there's an improvement in acceptance. So.
Okay. I will also point out that the letter that was sent back in March was much different than, I guess, our follow-up how our follow-up used to be. And there was a very good response to that letter. The urgency of the letter coming from the directive of the audit committee was recognized, and I believe that was very helpful in getting our responses and everything.
Okay. Any other further comments on this?
No, I think, from my opinion, as long as we have a consistent discipline to ensure there's follow-up against the critical factors, I think that's really the most important thing here. So,
okay, good. Okay.
The next item is the FY 2020 budget status. As has been throughout the entire year, our department is very far under budget as we come up to the end of the year. We're at about 64% for the year. However, this does not reflect about $70,000 of consulting fees related to the Election Commission audits that Craft CPAs is assisting us with right now. But even with that, we will still be under budget. The $40,200 that were targeted savings for the year were easily achieved with 2 open positions throughout the entire year. In the next year, in FY21, that $40,200, as we've discussed before, will be a permanent reduction that will be coming out of our consulting budget. And then since the council approved the Metro budget last week, we are awaiting our FY21 budget numbers and any additional reductions that will come with that.
Lauren.
Okay, so, yeah, go ahead.
Cool. This is Fraser. I had a question. Has COVID-19 had any impact on budget planning or, scheduling people, getting work done? I'm just curious about any impact that you have experienced or, as you look ahead that COVID-19 might bring to your area or the whole finance area.
Financially, it has not really affected our office much. And all honesty, if anything, it's helped us save some money because we're not there to utilize the supplies that are in place. We already had the technology in place where our entire office could go remote easily. We've seen more of an impact somewhat to our work where just the limited interactions that we can have with the client has slowed down some of our audits a little bit as we're all adjusting to working remotely and providing information to us electronically, especially for individuals that aren't at their desk to help provide that to us. But we haven't really seen any financial impact related to it.
Okay, that's good. Good. Appreciate it.
Now, relating to the 2021 budget, do we, a budget's approved, do we know what the audit budget would be for 2021?
Our budget analyst is currently working on that. We were already aware of the targeted savings from last year, that $40,000 becoming a permanent cut for this year, as well as our budget we will lose our travel budget, as well as our longevity pay for our employees that earn longevity. Those are 2 areas that will also see cuts. I'm unsure if there will be additional ones based on what was passed, but we hope to hear early July what our budget is.
Okay. Okay, and the numbers here, when you say actual, is that projected through June 30th?
No, that is not. That is actuals that I ran out of our financial system on June 17th. So, as I mentioned about the biggest change will be the $70,000 to craft, and that will come out of the professional and purchase services. So instead of 118, that will be 188, around there, which will still leave us about $50,000 in our services.
Yeah, my question, I guess, is do we expect any adjustments from our audit plan going into 2021 with the budget that you're anticipating?
No, I do not think so.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Lauren, you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Does any of the members have any other agenda items or any other items? Excuse me.
What were the?
Go ahead.
This Tom, and I guess I was just checking to see what the next audits were, what areas the next audits were for. I was looking for that. I know you talked about capital projects in the fall, but I don't know what. I was just curious.
So the upcoming audit reports that you'll probably see is one of the Treasury Department, the Davidson County Sheriff's Office Detention Center, and nonprofits collaboration within the Parks and Recreation Department. We also are starting the one for the Beer Permit Board and the Juvenile Justice Center. We do have currently we have started the Metro Nashville Public Schools capital project process audit. That is almost to a draft phase, so that one should be coming before the next audit committee as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hi, Brett, this is Kevin Crumbo.
Yeah, Kevin.
I can't tell you. Hey, I'm not sure if you're ready to end the meeting or accepting a call for an executive session, but I would like to make that call for the executive session whenever it's appropriate.
Oh, okay. Terry, is that appropriate?
Yes, we do have to have a motion to go into the executive session, and it has to be justified by one of the criteria specified in the state statute that allows the audit committee to go into executive session. These criteria, I believe, are listed on your agenda, but usually the one we are going into executive session for the purpose of it to discuss an ongoing audit.
Okay. So, and I'll adjourn. Do we ask for the executive session, and then I'll adjourn the public meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's a motion to go into executive session. Is there a second?
A second, Tom.
Terry, do we need a roll call for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, roll call. Lauren.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Crumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Druffel?
Yes.
And then I would ask that anybody else mention, just to make sure that the call is clear of anybody else. I don't know if Bill is still on the line, and Terry I know is on the line.
Okay, well I'll tell you what, I'll call for an adjournment of the public meeting, and then we'll go into executive session and make sure everything's set up. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the public meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
And I believe, and there's a second?
Second.
And I believe last time this does not require a roll call. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So I adjourn the public meeting, and we're now in executive session. But before we do that,
this has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.